who cannot be here and who will also be joining us. All right. Um, the first goal of the Black Body Biochemistry class and the Melon Mastery cohorts that have come out of that is for us to heal alienation. And specifically, we want to use STEM, in this case, biology and chemistry. Okay, we want to use STEM to heal cultural alienation. It is critical that we do that because currently, the more our children excel in STEM, the more they are removed from an interest and or skill in using science to lift our community, and specifically to help us remove those from power over us, as well as to help us heal and build. We are about the business of changing that paradigm so that our students are introduced to science, in this case, biology and chemistry, in ways that get them closer to themselves, to our community, to our people. That is the goal. To create scientists who have no interest in lifting our community doesn't serve us. One more example that, oh, here's an example that we can do that. We are out of the prove it business, okay? And we think our people need to get out of the prove it business. And if we know our history, we know what we can do. What we need to be about is figuring out how we can do that. And so to that end, we believe that academics is accelerated to the extent that is tied to our culture. And so out of that class came the idea to begin to have intergenerational cohorts begin to study some aspects of melanin and then make those presentations to the community. So let me just slow this down, okay? So each one of you will be working with a cohort or will be in a cohort. A cohort is a group, okay? And think of your group as a combination study group and a class. That group will be doing three things. It will be researching, it will be educating each other, and then educating our community, okay? So you will be researching the biology and the chemistry of melanin. You will then be teaching each other, seeking to understand it. Like the key questions after you identify melanin is, how does it work? What does it do and how does it work? At that point, you become a scientist. You become a scientific investigator, understanding the biology. You can, for example, notice that melanin is in our skin. That's not the science. I mean, that's an observation and it's superficial. I mean, it's there. Okay, melanin is in our skin. But how does melanin work in the skin? All right, to understand the melanocytes and what goes on in the melanocytes and in the melanosomes, the production of melanin, it means you're going to be understanding the biology and chemistry. Okay, and so the goal is for each cohort to become a study group where you research together, you talk to each other and teach each other. Everybody in the study group should know what everybody else knows. So if you learn something, Mark Anthony, from your research, then your job is to teach your Baba, if he's in it and he doesn't know it, to teach him what you know. Is you all right with that? You can put your thumbs up if you want to, Mark. All right, good. I hear you. Thank you. So that's the goal. If the adult understands it, then the adult's job is to make sure that everybody in the cohort understands it. If you cannot explain it to a 12-year-old, then it means you don't understand it. Okay, that's the standard. Okay, and that's the Urugu standard when we were had study groups with Mama Marimba's Ani book Urugu. All right, so the cohorts will be groups of 6 or groups of 12 or thereabouts. I mean, if it's a little over, it's okay. But groups of 6. In the group of 6, we want at least 2 students, all right? And then the others may be adults. All right, it's okay with me if it happens to be 3 and 3. We do not want a cohort that is only students or that is only adults. All right, here's why, and this is another objective, okay, of this program, to create intergenerational learning. Laura, you often are busy making sure that you put bread on the table and provide for your family. That Achedzi, is that pronounced correctly? Achedzi? Am I pronouncing that correctly? All right. Achedzi probably rarely has seen you learning, where you are actively kind of learning. Doesn't mean you aren't doing it.
Do you have the roadside assistance?
No, I don't have roadside assistance. Hold on. Okay. So glad that you are here, Sonny. And I hope you get the roadside assistance that you need. Okay. Again, now we have cohorts, we have groups. It's a study group, it's a research group, it's an educational group educating itself internally. And then after September, October, November, okay, and probably the first week of December of studying, then this group will prepare itself for community presentation. All groups have to make a community presentation of what it has learned about melanin. Now, in November, you will begin to look at what kind of presentation you want to make. All members of the cohort will participate in the presentation, and so y'all can start thinking about different ways, creative ways to make the presentation to the community. Every cohort member is responsible for getting at least 5 people to come to the presentation. So if there are 6 cohort members, then Mark Anthony, how many people minimally are we going to have? If every member of the cohort, and let's say your cohort is made of 6, and every member has to bring 5 people, how many people will be in your audience minimally in December?
30.
30. All right. Achezi, do you agree with that?
What?
What do you mean, what? You ain't been hearing what I say?
Oh, yeah. I agree with it.
No, see, you don't agree with me. You have to be agreeing with Mark Anthony. Now, you listen, bro. You're going to be here. You got to pay attention. Okay? So I'm going to say it one more time. And that is, you're going to be a part of a cohort. Every cohort will have at least 6. Every cohort member must get 5 people to come to the demonstration in December, where you will be showing the community what you have learned in September, October, November. If every cohort member brings 5 people, and there are 6 members of the cohort, how many people will be in your audience minimally?
30.
Very good. So you corroborate Mark Anthony Gaskins. Excellent. Okay, so you got some scaffolding. You got 6 groups of 6 or groups of 12. Okay, those of you who will be working with Liberated Minds, there will be 3 groups of 6. Okay, each one of you will be researching different elements of melanin. Okay, different aspects of melanin. I'm going to stop and open it for some questions before I go on, because there's some other parts we get to. So let me just back it up. Questions you may have, all right, or comments you want to make. If you're excited about being here, being a part of this, you can certainly say it now. If you have a question, please, you can say it now. I'd love to be guided by your question. All right, I'll make sure that before we off tonight, we know who's here. We know what cohorts you're working with. We know whether you have a team or whether you're still building your team. We know what support you need, and you'll be ready to be assigned or to select a particular foci. So right now, questions or comments for those of you here, some who just come in on the phone, welcome.
I have a quick question. What was the third objective?
Okay, that is for us to communicate to our community the science and the biology and the chemistry of melanin. That's one. The other is intergenerational learning, so that they begin to see, that is where middle and high schoolers are learning with adults. Most of what we'll cover, most adults don't know. For example, many of us know that there's melanin. There's a connection between melanin and the pineal gland. We just most don't know that connection, and we certainly don't know many times the biology and the chemistry of that. Okay, we know that melanin is our skin. We often don't know the how of it and the biology and the chemistry of it. So it's really, to me, it's exciting to have students see their parents and adults learning and excited about learning as a way to inspire them to be as well. Okay, and the first one was for us to heal alienation. Okay, so that we're using STEM to help heal cultural alienation. One other one that is key is to change the conversation about melanin in our community so that our conversations about melanin will have us more excited about biology and chemistry. Got it? Does that answer your question?
Yes.
Thank you so much for asking. Okay. That's Quinn, right?
Yes.
All right. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. Now, there's some sub-objectives in it in terms of academic objectives, because I said each cohort will be about the business of doing research. So that means that we hope that everybody in the cohort sharpens their research skills, sharpens their critical thinking skills as they're debating and pushing back and forth and seeking to understand melanin and how it functions. Okay. That they're increasing their vocabulary, their scientific, in this case, biology and chemistry vocabulary. Because in order to understand some of these, they're going to have to say, okay, let's review something about the cell. And I'll give you an example. Okay. How many of you know, well, I'll assume that all of you know that melanin protects our skin from the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun, right? Give me some thumbs up or some right. Everybody clear about that? All right.
Right.
Now, all right. So tell me, somebody volunteer who has not been in this class with me. Okay. How does it do that? How does melanin protect our skin from the harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun? What's the mechanism? Kareem, looks like you're ready to jump in that question. Come on, brother.
I don't, okay, I have no idea. My guess is that it's something like photosynthesis. It uses the energy somehow instead of letting it hurt me, but I don't know.
Excellent. It's astute, very astute guess. Okay. Anybody else? What is your thinking? Thank you. Because guessing is excellent at our Education Institute.
Okay.
We encourage it. We encourage it in your cohorts. Anybody else have an idea or a guess? Yes, sir, Mark Anthony Gaskins.
Yeah. Maybe because our skin is basically melanin, it absorbs the melanin better, and so it protects our skin from the ultraviolet rays.
So since I got two right answers, I'm going to let that be. Okay, and the answer is yes. Melanin spreads itself over the mitochondria DNA, which means you're going to have to know what mitochondria DNA is, okay? And it protects the cell, the mitochondria, from cell damage, because if it's damaged, it'll mutate and turn cancerous, or may turn cancerous. And the astute thing that both Kareem and Mark Anthony said, which is different from most people, and that is it absorbs as opposed to blocks. All right? Melanin does not block the sun. It eats the sun. Okay? It absorbs it. Now, if it does that, notice something going on. That is, it is absorbing electromagnetic radiation, and then it is converting them chemically. Okay? So that means we'll have to see what's the mechanism for absorbing and then converting it, because if it just absorbs it and holds it, it will become toxic itself. So that means understanding what is the mitochondria, okay, understanding how it absorbs electromagnetic radiation, so that's understanding the spectrum of visible and invisible light, And understanding this dynamic ability to absorb electromagnetic radiation and turn it into chemical potential. Okay, so so that means you're going to get to know some biology and going to get to know some chemistry, because you have to be able to say how it functions, how it does it, and be able to explain that. Okay. So I'll ask those of you who are teachers and who's going to be supporting it. Are you excited about learning some biology and chemistry yourself?
Yes.
Absolutely.
All right, beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. All right, let's just play with this a minute. Where is melanin in your body?
Hi, it's Terica. I think is it in your brain?
Okay, that's one place. Excellent. Terica, it's in your brain. Next.
Can I try one more?
Yes, come on.
Your heart?
Okay, in your heart, she says. All right. Keep on going. You're right, absolutely. Anybody else? Where is melanin?
I think it's everywhere.
Okay, it's everywhere. So how would it be everywhere? Now, I'm not saying that you're incorrect. So it's in your foot, you think? It's in your, it's everywhere, you say. Okay, how does it show up, Baba Brian?
Yes, sir.
How does it show up everywhere?
So it's in the cells, or it's in the organs. I know it's in all the organs.
Okay.
It's throughout our body. It's in the nervous system.
All right, you're absolutely right. It's in the nervous system. Okay. And so what we're doing, and Baba Brian is right, we're going to find out where it is. Now, because it's vast, every group will decide on, there'll be 3 areas that every cohort will focus on. Okay. And so, for example, let me pull it up here. Of the 3 cohorts in Liberated Minds, let me just show you here. Okay. The Liberated Minds cohorts, there'll be 3. Here are the proposed research foci for group 1, 2, and 3. And this may be a little small, so I'm going to zoom it in here. All right. To give you an idea how it's rolling. So cohort number 1 for Liberated Minds will focus on the skin, the solar function. All cohorts have to know something about the solar function. Okay, they have to know the basis, because when people think of melanin, that's the first thing they think of. So everybody will have to know basic melanin in terms of its solar function, its solar protective function. Okay, now cohort number 3 will not just know the basics of solar and the skin, they're going to know an advanced one. All right, the next thing is birth, the role of melanin in birth. Okay, and we'll come back to that in a second. And then there's a true or false. Every cohort will have to take a social media claim, and they'll have to prove it or disprove it. For example, there's a social media claim that melanin is the most primitive and universal pigment in living organisms. This is, so literally we find those claims on social media, and then we say, is this true? And that particular cohort will have to say whether it's true or not, and then back it up. Okay. Cohort number 2. Again, you see this skin, that's the basic function, but you also then see cohort number 2 will look at the role of melanin in the brain. Where is it in the brain, and what's the role of it in the brain? The true or false section is melanin connects every tree, plant, animal, Mother Earth, and the universe. Is that true? That's what's claimed on social media. True or not true? Okay, that's what that cohort will have to determine. If they say true, they'll have to back it up. If they say it's not, they'll have to prove that, okay, based on the research. that they're finding. Cohort number 3. Now, cohort number 3 actually is going to do advanced melanocyte production and skin melanin production. Okay. So while everybody will know a basic, all cohorts, this particular group is going to take that to another level. Okay. This cohort. And then also this group will look at melanin in the nervous system. And then there's a social media claim, you may have heard it, that melanin is $428 per gram. Okay. Is that true or not true? All right. Now, each cohort will have, welcome, Sister Queen Thais. Each cohort will have September, October, November, and the first week or so, possibly 2, but at most 2 in December, because then it has to get ready for its presentations. Now, that group, your cohort, meets every week. All right. If you do not have a local group, we're going to create an online cohort. Okay, so that you'll be a part of a group that meets in online like we're meeting now. Okay, we really do want you to meet with others locally when you can, so that you have a local study group and support group, and then you have people, when you're presenting, you can present together. All right. In addition to meeting weekly, there will be 2 classes per month. On the 2nd and 4th Thursday for melanin. There'll be some on Tuesday, but those are not melanin. 2nd and 4th. In some cases, there will be a special one like next week, which is the 3rd week. But typically, the 2nd and 4th Thursdays of the month is when classes. Now, those classes will be done just like that you're here. Okay, this is where your cohort gets some guidance. This is where we have sometimes special presentations. We're working to get Dr. T. Owens Moore and others who are renowned in the area of melanin to make presentations. And this is also where you get to collaborate. So if your group is working on something and stumped, then you can ask a question of other cohorts, okay? And they may have an answer or be able to lead you to an answer. Bob O'Brien, how many do you think you can get 6 in East Orange, a group of 6?
I'm thinking so, but I have to really think about this a little bit more.
Okay, okay.
You know, and Mama Terica, you know, we're kind of, I think we're not too far from each other, right? Mama Terica?
We're very close, yes.
So you already have the 2 students. Okay.
Yes, we already got 2 students.
2 students, and you got Mama Terica and you. So you got 2 adults. So all you need is 2 more people. Okay.
There you go.
So I think you can get a group of 6. Okay, and y'all will meet weekly. Okay, and then twice a month you'd come on where we're doing a melanin presentation. Okay, and you're also asking questions and networking with other cohort members around the country. Okay, does everybody understand that, how that work? Right. Now, we are excited about your meeting together in study groups. For those of you who are Queen Thais, you're going to be meeting probably on Friday for an hour and a half, starting about from 5 to 6:30. Now, what I want is for everybody on this call that's going to be a part of a local cohort, not a cohort online. We want to figure out and be able to communicate with you today and tomorrow and get clear so that by next Tuesday, we know when you're meeting. We know the members of your cohort. We know that if it's a complete set of 6 or if you still are recruiting. Okay. And everyone will be assigned a melanin question. Now, you can also choose a melanin question long as it is approved. All right. So let me just back up. What are the three things, the three areas that each melon mastery cohort will focus on? Each melon mastery cohort there will be three areas of research.
One of them was the skin.
Very good. One of them is the solar function, okay? Melanin solar function. How it protects us, generally that's the skin, okay? It's a little bit also in the eyes, but the solar function, okay? And then the next one, Barbara Bryant.
Well, another part was the social media claims.
Very good. The other one, you'll pick social media claims or be assigned social media claims, just as I said here, and your job will be to prove it or disprove it. Okay. And the other one will be a particularly either assigned or selected by the cohorts, as long as it's approved, area of melanin focus. Okay. The ones I've mentioned so far are melanin in the nervous system. Barbara Bryant also mentioned that one. Melanin in the brain, and melanin and birth. There are many other ways. There's melanin in the inner ear. There is melanin in your immune system, or it works with your immune system. And then there's also melanin in the trees and in the earth, that is the dirt. Melanin in other mammals and reptiles and oceans. So there are a number of different areas, and we don't want to overwhelm the cohort. But certainly, if the cohort gets done and satisfactory on one area, then it can add additional pieces. Okay. There will be, during the class that you come, not the study group, you'll be presented different things. So the melon mastery cohort members will be taking those things in and taking notes from those, and some of those may spur some additional research. Okay. So what we'll need to know is, for example, I've laid out for those three by example the liberated minds. I've laid out those three areas for each one of those three in terms of the research and educational areas. I've also indicated the time that they're meeting, the place that they're meeting. They'll be meeting at a Manila. Okay, so I'll need to know where you're meeting. All right, and the time that you're meeting. All right. And let me say one other thing. I'm going to show you what resource you get, because when we say research, we don't mean you have to start like just from anywhere and everywhere. Okay. Each cohort or group, for example, those three sponsored by Liberated Minds, will share one large class, and basically so they'll see research. For those of you on the phone, you won't be able to see this, but what I'm going to show for the others is the research area that you will have access to, that each cohort will have access to. And it literally will be an area where you can post your information as you're doing research. You can post your questions. So even though you only meet once a week, you literally can be researching other times, put questions for your other members to answer, or put your findings, and they're there. So let me just show you that. Okay. Okay, so for those of you who can see my screen, we call this space Mukanda. Mukanda means the gathering. Okay, and so here there are, let's, just a second, where's Melon Mastery? All right, so here is an example. All right, so for those of you who are seeing, you see here are lessons, and the most important thing is the resources. Okay, here they include basic chemistry resources. So when you come across something like, okay, what is the mitochondria? So what are the parts of a cell? Under the basic biology review example, you will get organelles of the cell. Okay, you'll get biology, cell structure. Okay, that is things that you're going to encounter from biology and chemistry. You have them here, and whether you encounter them and how much depends upon what area of research that you're focusing on. Okay. For example, if you're doing the advanced focus of the skin and how melanin is produced in the melanosome, okay, from the amino acid, then you might watch this particular series of videos that demonstrate the amino acid tyrosine, and it goes to the L-dopa, goes to dopamine and norepinephrine and epinephrine. And so your cohort may say, okay, this is how melanin is produced in the melanosome, which is in the melanocyte, which is in your skin. Okay. And now if that's not your area, then you may want to go to, you may need to go to another area. Okay. If you want to understand the skin, you want to understand melanocyte and melanoma. Now, why don't I get this out of the way a little bit and get clear? How many of you know that melanoma is the name for skin cancer? Does everybody know that? Okay, Mark and Achezi, he's taking a break. Okay, it's all good, Laura. Okay, so that is one of the things you're going to learn is the difference between melanin and melanoma. And one other M that gets confused, and that is, what's the other M that some people confuse with melanin? Melatonin.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. The pineal gland, people say many times, secretes melanin. It does not. It secretes melatonin and serotonin that have an effect on the pituitary gland, which does secrete the melanin stimulating hormone. Okay, so there's a connection. It's just not a direct connection. Okay. All right. So right now, if you're taking notes, there are the 3 M's: melanoma. Of course, if we were doing the labeling, we would never label the disease the same as our blessing. Since melanin is a blessing and Black people have it in abundance, we would not name melanoma. Okay, we would not do that. But that's not that naming has been done by Europeans unless we choose to rename it, which we can. So what I'm showing you, and what I was showing you, and I'll go back again, is the tremendous library and that you already have available to you as you are. Now, every group, every cohort will get support for how do you, like start on your question, okay, if you're stuck, okay? But it is a research, it is helping folk understand. So I'm gonna go back to the research area that you have, all right? So then there are a number of things, for example, if Barbara Bryant said that melanin is in our nervous system, so it's everywhere. Well, here is a video on the nervous system in 9 minutes. Okay, it's not about melanin, it's about the nervous system. Because if you're going to say it's in the nervous system, you remember we said you don't just locate it, you also answer the question of how does it function. Okay, that's where the science comes in. How does it function in every area? Is everybody clear? Okay. Hello, Earth to everybody.
Clear.
Clear. Thank you. Thank you. All right.
Very clear.
I'm gonna go down here, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4 videos on the nervous system. So if one doesn't suit you, there may be another one. Okay, now you're not limited to these. You can find others. These ones have been curated so that they're there. They're usually very short or very good. Actually, there's one more. Now then, there's here the neurobiology of evil. What is that? What has that got to do with melanin? Neurobiology. Neuro means what? Y'all?
Is that the brain?
It's in the brain. Neuro is a brain cell, okay? Like neurons, right?
Okay.
And so the brain cells and evil. Now, why is this here? Because we say melanin, and particularly melanin in our brains, creates a disposition among African people. Okay, and that disposition is a disposition of cooperation, for example. And many people will say, well, how can you do that? And there are all kinds of claims of people studying the neurons and the neurobiology of another kind of. So if they look at putting people behind bars, then they will say this is a neurobiological problem. Okay. Well, if you can say that the neurons create this sense of a propensity toward evil, you can also say that the neurons create a propensity toward good and cooperation. Are y'all with me on that? Okay. All right. That's those two areas: psychopath, genetics. All right. Sorting out dopamine. Okay. One of the things. How many of you have heard of dopamine before? What have you heard about dopamine? Dopamine is a neurotransmitter. Neuro again means brain cells, neuro in the brain cells. So neuron is a brain cell. Okay, so neuro means, you know, studying the brain or brain cells, or at least nervous system. So neurotransmitter is a brain cell that transmits something to something else. Okay, dopamine is a neurotransmitter. Okay, and most times dopamine is associated with feeling good and reward. So you do something you really like, then you get a rush of dopamine. It may be where the word dope comes from. Okay. But there is a particular area of dopamine and melanin, and that is in your substantia nigra, which is a part of the brain that you'll discover if that's your area. The substantia nigra just means the black substance. Okay. All right. The linea nigra, which is the dark line on your stomach when you're pregnant, is the linea nigra. Okay. All that means is the black line. Substantia nigra just means the black substance in the brain. But this black substance in the brain interacts with dopamine to help control your muscles. And when that begins to deteriorate, when your substantia nigra and the melanin begins to deteriorate or reduce, then it has effect on what's called a dopaminergic reaction, and you get involuntary control of your muscles, called Parkinson's disease. Okay, so you'll begin to know that there's a connection between melanin and muscle movement, muscle communication. Okay, and so that may be an area you want to study. You also see here something called the vitamin D paradox. Okay, this may also be something you want to study. I'm going to highlight this because part of what I want also the class to do while I'm getting it organized, I also want you to see some of the breadth of it and learn something tonight. All right, so here is this and to get to where I can see you. And one of the students discovered this anomaly, and I want your cohort to be about the business of like, why is this and why is this? That is to be about questioning. Okay, so one study said that Black people are vitamin D deficient in big numbers. Okay, and so vitamin D supplements are being prescribed by doctors to Black people in record numbers. Okay, all right. How many of you on this call are on vitamin D supplements?
No.
Good. Anybody else? Who's on vitamin D supplements? Okay. Well, here's a problem. So this one study says we're vitamin D deficient. Here's another study. We have the greatest bone density of any people in the United States. The major role of vitamin D is to increase the uptake of calcium so that your bones will be strong as opposed to brittle or bowed, right? Right, rickets is when your bones won't carry the weight, your bones aren't strong. Another disease is osteoporosis, okay? Who do you see, what ethnic group do you see with the most osteoporosis?
White people?
European.
That's right, Europeans.
Europeans.
Okay, I mean, even though a brother may be bent over because he had too much to drink. Okay, all right. His head is not bent over, and his back is not bowed because of his weak bones. We have the greatest bone density of any ethnic group. But tell me then, how can we be vitamin D3 deficient and at the same time have the highest bone density? How are we going to make that out? Kareem?
I don't know.
All right, you're a scientist. So how could that be? Let's get some speculation here. What's going on?
This is Nathan. This is my oldest son, Nathan.
Beautiful. All right, great, Nathan. All right, excellent. How can that be, Nathan? Vitamin D is to have us have strong bones. One test says that we have not very much vitamin D, but another test says that we have the strongest bone density. Just a second. There's someone in the class over here. Hold on just a second. Hello, A. Berry. Are you there? A. Berry. Let me give you the room you need to get to. Are you trying to get to Melon Mastery class? All right, I'm going to type it in the text chat where you need to go, okay? It's just another Zoom room, okay? So I'm putting the link in the text chat.
Did you have an answer, Nathan?
I think that, wait, is he?
It's okay.
Okay, just one second, Nathan. Okay, so A. Berry, do you see the link in the text chat? Would you repeat that, A. Berry? Okay, all right, no problem. Just want to make sure that you can get here. Okay, thank you so much. Okay. Okay, Nathan, I'm ready to hear your response.
So I think that's because, I think it says that,
It's all right, good. It's all okay. All right.
Is it possible that one study is done by European scientists and another study is done not by European scientists?
That's a good guess. And what I want you to get is that guessing is excellent at Aya Education Institute. So I love that you guess that. And that's not right on the money, but it is close, okay? And it's not so much who did it, but it does have to do with race, okay? And so I'm going to show you this study, okay? Because it's important that, every time that you learn, and we come together. And while this is also an organizing meeting, I want to give you a sense of how this rolls. So this is how vitamin D tests misdiagnosed African Americans. Y'all see that? For those of you looking at the computer. All right. All right. So it says disease susceptibility varies among ethnic groups, but medicine hasn't always recognized that. Okay. By the current blood test for vitamin D, most African Americans are deficient. That can lead to weak bones. So many doctors prescribe supplement pills to bring their levels up. All right. Now, the population in the United States with the best bone health happens to be who? African American population, says Dr. Ravi Tadhani, a professor of medicine at Massachusetts General Hospital and lead author of the study. But almost 80% of these individuals are defined as having vitamin D deficiency. That is perplexing. Can you believe that? 80% of the folks who have the highest bone density, the test says that they are vitamin D deficient. All right, so that's pointing you into a direction. The origin of the paradox is a fascinating tale of genes interacting with geography. All right, to unravel the mystery, Tadhani and his colleagues looked closely at various forms of vitamin D in the blood of 2,085 Baltimore residents, black and white. They focused on a form of vitamin D called 25-hydroxyvitamin D, which makes up most of the vitamins circulating in the blood. It is a form that the standard test measures. The 25-hydroxy form is tightly bound to a protein. Pay attention to that. And as a result, bone cells, immune cells, and other tissues that need vitamin D can't take it up. It has to be converted by the kidneys to a form called 125-dihydroxyvitamin D. For Caucasians, blood levels of 25-hydroxyvitamin D are a pretty good proxy for how much of the bioavailable vitamin D they have, but not for Africans. That's because Africans have only a quarter to a third as much binding protein. Tadhani says, so the blood test for 25-hydroxy form is misleading. His study finds that because of these lower levels of protein, blacks still have enough of the bioavailable vitamin, which explains why their bones look strong, even though the usual blood test says it shouldn't. The conclusion from this study is that just because your total levels are low, it doesn't mean that you need to replace vitamin D using supplements. The reason people of African descent have far less protein-bound vitamin D is probably related to geographic origins of the human race. Our earliest ancestors lived near the equator in Africa, that's us, where sunlight was plentiful and intense year-round. Vitamin D is synthesized in the skin when sunlight strikes it. When sunlight is deficient, the vitamin has to come from dietary sources such as eggs and fish oil. Humans living in sunny climates have plenty of vitamin D on their own. In fact, one reason for a high degree of skin pigmentation and people of African descent is to prevent the synthesis of too much vitamin D, which can be toxic. Early humans did not need to store up reserves of vitamin D, so they didn't need much of this binding protein, whose function is to squirrel the vitamin away in a form where it can be used later. Somebody needs you to mute your mic.
Uh-oh.
Can you mute you? Can you, if not, I'll do it. Let's see here. I'm trying to find you. Just 1 second. Okay, seemed like you may have muted your mic. All right, so let me just finish that up. Y'all learning something about melanin tonight?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. And so here, all right, just a second. Everyone who came out of Africa had the ancestral genotype associated with lower vitamin D binding proteins because we didn't need any vitamin D binding protein because we had, you just step out, bam, and you got as much sun, as much vitamin D produced as you ever needed. Okay, but if you were in the north, okay, as Europeans were, they needed some of that precursor vitamin D before it was converted to vitamin D3. They use some words, but you can think of it as D1, D2, and D3. And D2 is what bound to this protein so that later on it could be converted during those winter months when there is no sun. there, okay? And we didn't develop that binding protein, okay? So when human moves to areas of less sunlight of different genotype evolved, that is white folks, the further north they went, the more people needed reserves of vitamin D, so a D binding protein levels went up. And the genetic difference in vitamin D binding proteins is what researchers have finally figured out. Dr. Michael Hollick, a leading authority on vitamin D at Boston University Medical School, tells Schatz that the new research is prompting him to resurrect blood samples from earlier studies to figure out whether the ill effects of low vitamin D in African Americans and Caucasians are related to low levels of bioavailable, blah, 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 blah. Basically, and I'm not, you got the sense of this where we're almost done. Mainly you want to understand is that the test was biased. The test was for a binding protein that white people developed that we didn't develop and didn't need to develop. Okay? And then y'all, this is not something from way back when. Your neighbors, your black people in your family are on vitamin D supplementation. Okay? Here's the problem with that. Too much vitamin D creates the opposite effect. Too much vitamin D will actually weaken your bones. Okay? Yes, Laura, I can tell your mind is spinning and you're about to say something. Come on.
No, I guess that was just my question, was that then people are being overprescribed this, so then it's harmful that they're on these supplements.
That's right. It is harmful. And where's what students did? Students identified. Thank you, Mark Gaskins. I see that you'll need to be leaving in just a second. All right. I appreciate you being here and jumping on board. One of the things I'll need you to do, Mark, is to let me know, both of you, are you going to be working with a local group, or are you going to be a part of an online group? Okay. That we pulled together. Okay. Hopefully you can pull together 5 additional people, maybe your dad and yourself, and then I don't know how far y'all are from Santa Cruz, but you might see if you can get some. You're gonna make it work. Okay, so you already got 4 people right there, so surely you can get 2 more people, and you can have that local cohort. So Mark, and I'm glad that you're gonna be a part of it, young brother. Okay, right. And learn some things. All right, so take care. Now, now this what we're learning, and what you just said, Laura, is important. All right, by Mark. So it's important. They're learning at this age, and you're learning how medicine is errant because it's not taking race into consideration. Okay, it's using a test designed for white people and using it on us, all right? And then therefore, we're being prescribed and overprescribed vitamin D supplementation, which is hurting us, okay? And so it's really important that and students in the class actually took this research home to their parents and asked those parents who are on vitamin D to take it to their doctor so that the doctor could justify their supplementation in the face of this kind of evidence. Okay, now I want you to understand how that's a really, really important thing. You remember we said we want to heal alienation, and we want to have students begin to get to use science to serve our community. Think about it. I've never in all of my schooling ever learned anything that I could take home to help my parents challenge racism in the medical industry. Okay? You see what I'm saying? So they are literally learning that they are finding out things that they can use to help challenge racism in science or medicine or any other places. Typically, STEM classes would not have them do that. Okay? So they don't learn to begin to use their science in defense of our people and that kind of thing like that. Okay? So that's a perfect example, and that's how that was used here. Now, if your group chooses to go into that, mainly they'll just need to know the various stages of vitamin D, all right, and D3, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Okay? All right. There's a direct relationship to this, to the whole sunscreen controversy as well. Okay, so that's an area that you may want to research. So let me just see right now, because it's 9:16. You've been here for an hour, and some of you for an hour, some of you for an hour and 16 minutes. Can you tell me, and we've not exhausted, of the areas that we've talked about, which area of melanin interests you?
I know that I am, and this is Quinn. I'm interested in the role of melanin in birth.
The role of melanin in birth. Okay, all right. Now, Quinn, you do notice that dark line that comes every time a woman gets big and pregnant, right?
Yes, and the reason why I was just speaking to Queen Thais about it because I was actually pregnant, and I still have my line.
Beautiful. And so you still have your line. And do you have any idea? Has anybody ever taught you what that line is for, and whether it's a good thing or not?
No, I've never been taught that, so that's why I'm intrigued. When I found out about the class, I said I want to know. Like this will be my second child, or this is my second child. So I said, okay, every time, how do you know that I'm pregnant? How does this work? How does my body know? And then as far as my pigment, my skin pigment around my neck,
yes, right. It gets darker. That's right.
It got darker.
Yes,
and
it does.
Kind of scaly. And I said, okay, well, what is this? And the only thing she said, well, the only answer that I was provided with was, oh, it's normal. This is what happened.
Well, that's all they
no
would
one
say.
gave an answer.
Now, notice, that's normal. Well, you didn't ask whether it was abnormal, okay? You asked why, okay? And they say it's normal. Yeah. Now, white women get really bent out of shape because they get darker too, and their husbands threaten to leave them. Okay, so they go to the dermatologist to try to have it scrubbed off. I'm not kidding you. I wouldn't make this stuff up. And now notice, I'll give you another fact that's related to it so as you can study. The darkest part of our bodies are our genitals. How come? They're certainly not seeing the sun. Where the baby is suckling on your breast, that's dark. How come key areas that have to do with birth and the life of the baby is dark with melanin? Now, for that, we'll need to discover what does melanin do in the body, and how nature operates. So I think it's an excellent area. Okay, so your cohort, the one you focus with, may also include birth and beginning to understand that. Okay, and that's men or female. The darkest part of our body is our genitals, male or female. Well, that has to do with birth. Okay, and so it's an exciting area to study and to begin to be able to share with people. Because if you can imagine, come December, that your cohort is sharing that information, how many women and men will be in the audience who will be like, "Wow, I didn't even know that." Okay, I've seen it all my life, but I don't know the answer. When I asked the doctors, the scientists, they just said it was normal. Well, great. Okay, that wasn't your question. Your question was, why is it there, and what does it do, and is it a good thing or not a good thing or whatever? Okay, imagine that. But just think about it. Nature has it so whenever you get ready to have a baby, you get blacker. Hot tomato. Must tell you something about this blackness already, right? There's must be something about this blackness that whenever you're gonna be having a baby, you know, the nature says, all right, we got to get some more of that black stuff. Hold on just a second.
Hey, Queen Thais. Hey, everybody else on the call.
Okay. All right, so we have Quinn says she's interested in the birth question, melanin and birth. All right. What about anybody else? What area are you interested in?
Okay, this is Kenya. I'm interested in the skin, the solar function, and the issue of, as I was growing up, I was dealing with the issue of, they would say it was two-tone skin and that sort of thing. I don't know whether that is within this area.
Oh, I think you certainly could look at that. Two-tone skin, that is, some of your skin was more darkly, was highly melanated, darker than other parts.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So that whole study, for example, vertigo, were you diagnosed with vertigo or was just different?
No, it wasn't a serious case or anything. Just various parts you find was of the face. You have a little darker patch in one area, a lighter patch in another area, but not,
I got it. All right.
Just say it's two-tone.
Okay. What do you think a mole is, y'all?
Isn't it like heavy deposits of melanin in a particular place?
Bingo! Bingo! And of course, if you don't know that they're good for you, that it's good for you, you'll be wanting to cut it off. Hold on just a second.
Wait, what?
Wait.
There are people who have their moles removed.
Oh, molars.
No, moles. Hold on a second.
So like the moles, like on your skin.
Queen Thais.
Oh.
You guys ever seen a mole? I mean, let me meet this.
Yeah, Queen Thais is not able to get audio over there, so she wanted to greet everybody and say that's why she didn't respond, and she's interested in the brain. Okay, so we got the brain, we have the skin, and we have birth. Okay, and any other areas?
What do you want to say, Nathan?
I'm interested in the brain as well.
The melanin in the brain, I think is fantastic. The melanin is in 11 different places in the brain. Okay, melanin is in the brain's
different places.
Yes, one is the brain stem, and so you might look at what is the brain stem. So between now and next time, I want you to look at what the brain stem does. Okay, what does the brain stem does? Hold on, this Queen Thais one more time. Yes, Queen Thais. Say again.
Okay, I was gonna say that I'm interested in the hair.
Okay, you're interested in the hair. All right. Thank you so much. That's duly noted. I'm going to send out and get with everybody and lock that down so that we know exactly what your particular cohort is working on. All right. So he wants to know about the hair. Thank you. Me too. I don't have it no more. And why does your hair turn white? Is the blackness in your hair melanin and the whiteness in your hair the lack of melanin? What you think, Yashi? Okay, that's frozen up. The answer.
I don't know. No, I don't know.
Okay, now one of the things that's going to be important for every cohort is to guess. Okay, scientists guess. Scientists guess a lot. Okay, and so you guess and you speculate in order to then go down a road of researching that. Okay, so would you guess that black hair, if I told you that the blackness of your hair was based on melanin?
Yes, I would guess that's true.
Then you guess then the whiteness of your hair would mean then your hair is not producing melanin in your hair.
Like albino people, right?
Well, albino people, yes, don't have it in their skin or in their hair, so they're generally blonde. Also, they don't have it in their eyes, which is another place for studying melanin.
Ooh.
In your eyes, or in your ears, okay, or in your heart. It gives.
Could be melanin found in the heart.
All right.
Yes, yes, melanin is found in the heart. Look at how exciting it is. Okay, look at your young man. Okay, now this is why this is important for our community, because melanin is popular. All right, and it's a blessing. And for us to then follow it, that means you're going to know, and your cohort is going to learn many more things about the body and many more things about biology and chemistry in order to understand it. Okay. Just to understand, if we follow up that question of where in the heart it is, he's learning something about the anatomy of the heart in order to be able to locate it. To answer how does it function, he's understanding something not only about the biology, but about the chemistry of it. You see what I'm saying? And now this is how we should be introduced to biology and chemistry. We shouldn't be introduced to biology and chemistry first through frogs and test tubes. Okay? But that is designed to alienate us, as opposed to have us get to know our bodies better. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
All right? All right. Because if I know my body, then I'll know certain things that I need to eat so that I don't contribute to Parkinson's disease. Okay? Or is there anything that I could eat to reduce the likelihood that my hair will turn white? Or is that just totally genetic? But now many things are genetic, but we don't have what's called the genetic expression. There's something called epigenetics that is above genetics. All right. So, y'all, it is 9:27. I want to answer your questions because the next step, okay, is for I will send you forms. Or online form. You will put down the members of your cohort, names and telephone numbers, etc., because I have to create a space in Mukanda so that they can move it. All right. So we'll know what the focus is for your group, and so for every group, then we're able to say, here are the resources given your focus. Here are the people in part of your group, and try to encourage and support your beginning to meet, and also let you know when the next class is so that you can move forward on that. Now, Mama Ya Lovejoy.
Yes.
Are you interested in meeting with others locally, or are you going to be a part of the class online only?
Whichever is more convenient.
Well, whichever is more convenient for you. Okay, it's if you don't have people who also are interested in what we generally, the reason we put out this call is when we were there this summer, we sent information and sent this out to everybody who attended. We'll look at who was also trying to get in the room to see if there are people in DC that you can physically join up with. If there are not, then me and Ayana will help you be in a group that's doing research weekly, and at the same time you'll be attending the classes online and learning there. Now again, it'll be a bit more structured than what we have here, because every cohort, the one online and the other, will have a particular focus, and given that focus, and that'll say, okay, if everybody's going to study the skin, here is step 1, 2, 3, 4. If everybody's going to study, different people are going to study the brain, this is where you break off and we begin to go to the brain. Okay. And there are some things, again, the overall we're going to learn. Like tonight, everybody learned a little bit about, actually a lot about vitamin D, what's called vitamin D3. Okay. Please make note of it. Vitamin D3 is made in your skin. Okay. When the sun hits your skin, vitamin D3 is made. Okay. And it goes through changes. It goes through D1, D2, and D3. D3 is called bioavailable vitamin D. Okay. That
What types of vitamin D?
there are 3 types of vitamin D: D1, D2, and D3. Okay. Later on, you'll learn names like calcidiol and calcitriol. Right now, conceptually, just deal with vitamin D1, D2, and D3. Okay. That's simple and accurate. Now, you remember when we said white people develop a protein, that protein binds to vitamin D2, okay, so that it can later be converted to D3, okay? And if they have a lot of that protein, then it's judged that they're not deficient. We didn't develop the protein, didn't need to develop the protein. So when we don't have much of that protein, they say we're deficient when we're not. Okay? All right. And so, so we've talked about an anomaly. I shared with you the research. One of the things that you will have this research study, right? It's from Health News from NPR. It was November 20th, 2013. The author is Richard Knox. And so when you're talking and making your presentations, cohort members will have to cite their sources. So you will be able to say, according to Health News, November 20, 2013, and Dr. Dadhani, 1, 2, 3, this is blah, 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 okay? And you won't have to do it by yourself. That's why you will have others who are researching that. And what's really great is that adults don't know the answer to these questions. And so they'll be searching just like you're searching, okay? And I think it's wonderful that you're going to be learning together, okay? Your study group will put its summaries in your classroom, online classroom, and I'm able to, and the supporters of this program are able to look at your results as you put them there weekly. Okay, each one of you doing your research, regardless of your age, and you'll post them there, and we can see some of that. Again, when you come to the classes, you'll also be able to see other people, and you can say, you know what, I've been looking for this, and I have not been able to find this. And another member of a cohort may say, well, we have found something that may be helpful to you. Okay, so that's how we're going to roll with that. All right. Any questions so far? Okay. Yes, Ayana.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
can
we
you hear
can.
Me?
Loud and clear.
Okay. My question was regarding the cohort.
Yes.
Because I'm wondering, because someone called in earlier and you said that they were maybe in the wrong interface here.
Yes.
Is there enough going on tonight?
Is there enough? No, is there nothing? There's nothing else. She was in that other room in case people came there.
Got it.
Okay. And so she stayed there, and after a while she left because she had something else to do. And I have a computer that allowed me to see that somebody after she left came in. Okay. And that's where I was able to direct them. Okay. Now there is, just so that y'all know, a lot going on that Aya is doing. Okay. And this is by way of announcement. Right. On Tuesdays, we have the how do you teach our children about oppression without depressing them class. Okay. That's going to be on the 2nd and 4th Tuesdays of the month. On the 2nd and 4th Saturdays of the month are celebrating families by healing broken stories. It's an adult storytelling class as a part of our family lore project. Okay. So there are 3, and those are part of our communiversity. That is the Melon Mastery classes, and the cohorts, the storytelling classes, and the family lore project, and the what's called It Really Wasn't a Massacre, or the Economic Conundrum. Those are 3 classes that are directed toward adults who also can bring their children, but it's directed toward adults in our community. It's our communiversity offerings. There are 3 of them. They're going to go 3 months, and then they're going to be presentations just like it is from Melon Mastery. Those 3 things will be going on. Now, while that is going on, we have another part of Aya that's called our Healing Oppression's Wounds, or Warriors and Healers and Builders work. And there is a 3-day retreat in Washington, D.C., October 4th, 5th, and 6th. And that's going on and will be advertised as well. And then for those of you who know, we have a middle school and high school, and that's going on. Okay. And so, and Ayana, I want you to stay a little late because I want to talk to you a little bit about that. I want to thank everybody for showing up. Okay. And you will get an email if you got this one, in which case you say specifically, we identify your cohort and your name. Now, if you're with Queen Thais, Your cohort is under the guide. Your 3 cohorts are Liberated Minds. Your cohort 1, 2, and 3. If y'all want to come up with another name besides 1, 2, and 3, y'all can do that. Okay. And what I encourage you to do is to begin between now and the time we're in touch with you, which will be within the week. Okay. Now tomorrow I'm headed to Dallas, and so it won't be this weekend. Okay. But come Monday, Tuesday, we'll be in touch with you to make sure that everything is tied down. You know what you're doing. What I'd love for you to do, if your interest has been sparked, for you to begin to independently do some research about the questions you have. Go online, go to Google Scholar, and begin to say, okay, he said something about the brain, melanin and birth. I want to see what I can find. Okay. All right. He said something about melanin and the brain. I want to see what I can find. Okay. To begin your search, okay, of what you can find. Okay. While we set up, once we know exactly how many people are going to be in your cohort, we set up the online class that gives you access to the resources, just like that I showed you, where I was reading from this health news from NPR. That was already stuff that has already been researched for you. Yet you're going to be also looking yourself. So please do that. One of the things that you're going to be learning is how do you ferret out credible research, okay, and not credible research. And also, how do you begin to get used to reading this scientific stuff with all this scientific jargon? Okay. All right. So the way we like to end with appreciations. If you learned anything, would you say something that you learned? Or if you liked anything or appreciate anything tonight about this class, would you say that? So that we can leave, okay? And it's okay if somebody else said the same thing you learned. It's okay. This is not like a contest or whatever. If you learn something that you want to tag, or if you appreciate something about the time we spent together, would you please say it?
I learned that we are being over-medicated with this vitamin D supplement.
Very good.
I learned that having a clear understanding of what melanin is. We talk about it, but really, do we really know what melanin is? So I enjoyed that. I'm enjoying that. The studying, the researching that I will conduct.
Very good. Mo.
I enjoyed learning about the learning styles for in terms of learning as a community and for the benefit of our community. That was really good, especially with my sons and seeing all the people on together. That was great.
Fantastic, brother. Fantastic. If we want to turn our community into a science and math community, we want them to excel, then turning our science into a science community again is how they'll excel. Yeah. Okay. Do you see what I'm saying? Yeah. Right now, it's like we want you to do science, but no, we don't want. Our community don't do it. No, we do science, and then guess what? They will do science. Okay. Yeah. All right. Because once upon a time, as a community, we did science. Okay, and we did math. Okay, and so it was nothing for our child to do it. Now we shy away from it, but somehow we're happy that they get it. And when they get it, they have to be with who? Who do they have to hang with if they're starting to excel in science in schools? Who do their peers become? White folks and Asians.
Yeah.
Okay. And when their jokes start sounding like that, then they begin to get ostracized from our community. Okay. Or they begin to take on their goals, not just their language, but their goals. Okay. And their identity. So we're talking about changing that. So just what you just observed, that your son is a part of a community of people that are nationally Black people who are researching, okay, learning these difficult words and all of that and doing all of that and doing it happily, okay, will change his mind about science and Black people.
Yeah.
Okay. So so I'm glad you noticed that's one of the objectives of this. Okay. All right. Anybody else? Other things that you either appreciate or something you learned?
I appreciate Baba Wekesa and Mama Fia and doing the work to bring this to we. And I appreciate Queen Thais for putting together 3 cohorts. And I appreciate everyone being here and the excitement of the adults and especially the excitement of our children. And just to see, it's in the brain. It's in the, that was just priceless. It's just priceless. And you see them becoming who they're divinely meant to become.
That's right. Mo.
Yeah.
Yes, Mama. Yeah.
I was reminded tonight about our need to stay vigilant because academia is so narrow and they just don't plan for anyone to look differently from what their eyes can see.
Indeed. Are you referring to the vitamin D?
Yes, and just about everything else. So we can talk
right.
about testing in schools.
That's right.
And
that's right.
teaching
That's right.
style.
That's right.
And learning.
That's right. You're absolutely correct. And I love that this vigilance, y'all, we are exporting this into our community. We're not begging other people to do anything. Okay? All right? We are creating the experiences for us to be with our children and for them to see it. And when you think about December and think about their 3, Imani, I haven't given up on you getting a cohort in Columbus. There will be 7 to 10 cohorts. Okay, we already got one on the West Coast. Those 2 people were in. They had to leave early. Okay, we have 3 in Atlanta. Okay, maybe 4 because Ronnie with Cool Weird Science says he's doing one. Okay, we'll have 7 to 10 different cohorts around the country who will be communicating with other. Imagine when these young people, Kareem, see your son and his excitement and his presentations of biology and science and talking about melanin in the brain or melanin in the birthing and all that, then what effect will that have on them?
Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? And so we're exporting it and we're not waiting till white people fund it, okay, or like it or give us permission to do it, okay? And we're not sitting around saying what black people ought to do, okay?
We're gonna do it.
We're doing it.
We're doing
okay?
it.
And I love that. All right, any other appreciations or something that you learned?
I learned that, Sonny.
Yes, Sonny, go ahead.
I learned that the vitamin D test does not adequately test our vitamin D levels.
Absolutely. It misdiagnoses them tremendously. One of the things y'all might do, go on a survey and just start asking 10 black people, and you will be surprised how many of them have been prescribed vitamin D. Great. Any other appreciations or something that you learned that you want to note?
Hi, it's Terica. I just really wanted to say thank you to offering this to the parents to be able to get involved in this type of way.
Mo, what do you like about it? What do you like about getting involved in this type of way?
Well, as far as this particular research group you have here, I'm a skincare product developer. I formulate skincare and hair care products. I am in the process of developing a line for people of African descent, strictly and on purpose and unapologetically for people of African descent and who are rich in melanin. So I'm here now trying to think of a whole section of my website to dig into, explaining to people what melanin is and how it affects us and our skin and our relationship with the sun, as well as, plants and animals and everything else that circulates around this thing called melanin.
Oh, that's fantastic. I just can't wait to hear your presentation to the community, about this whole whatever. It's just fantastic. I'll give you a hint.
Okay.
When I grew up, People used to say, the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice.
The juice. They still say that in my family.
And guess what? Eating blackberries is good for our melanin. Eating blueberries, the blacker the berry, okay, the healthier, okay, all right.
Mulberries too, right?
Mulberries, blackberries. Melanin is a super antioxidant. But if we don't give it any help, and it's the only antioxidant, it gets worn out.
Right.
So it behooves us to eat foods that are rich in antioxidant properties to aid our melanin. Okay. And that will aid our skin. Hello. Okay. Because it is when our melanin is depleted, you know, or is not cared for, that we begin to have other issues. Okay, particularly in our brain and in our muscles. Okay.
Thank you.
Yes. So I think it's fantastic. Are any other appreciations or things you learned you want to say before we leave?
Yes, I do. I just want to say, Baba, thank you for that dietary piece right there, because that's right up my alley. So that is great. That is great. We're gonna have fun, Mama Terica. We're gonna have lots of fun.
There you go. I think it's just, to me, this is just fantastic. Students really began to take notice and about what they should eat, and when they began to learn the role of melanin as an antioxidant, okay, and really then began to understand what that was, okay, and you know they can also eat things that are high in antioxidant, and those are either bright colored vegetables and or fruit, and or dark, okay, and so to me this is exciting that they will be speaking to our community with a sense of authority based on their research, okay, in those areas. Okay, you're welcome. All right, is that everybody?
Oh, just one last quick thing, Baba. The other classes that you mentioned, when will they be starting?
They are starting on Tuesday. The class, it really wasn't a massacre, or also called Economic Conundrum, and it is a class where we show you how we teach about oppression without depressing. Okay. That class starts on Tuesday. And if you want to take that, please do. And, you know, we'll work out any kind of, you know, money and all that stuff like that. It's a fantastic class. I'll be, for those who sign up between now and Tuesday, I'll give them the video that we recorded on this past Tuesday about where we added to what we had done when I was there, because we talked a little bit about it. We talked about resistance and dramatizing our resistance. And then we also brought in what's called MSO, countering the MSO and STD script. MSO means morality and service of oppression. And this is an injected script where we will win the moral war and give up the power war, okay? So Michelle Obama says, well, when they go low, we go high. And we like, great, we feel great because we are more moral than they. Except for it is immoral not to defend your community. It's immoral not to defend your family, okay? So we're taught morality, and that supports behavior that would have us surrender and capitulate, okay? And we're taught that that's more moral, okay? And so, and the other part of that is we also are taught to shame the devil. So if we can shame white people by saying, he arrested him just because he was black. He killed him just because he was black. Well, first they learn never to say that again. And now would y'all please never say that again, okay? If a black person is killed or hurt or discriminated against by a white person, it is not just because they're black, it's because the person is sick. See, when you say they did it because they were black, particularly if your children are hearing it, okay, then guess what the problem is? You're telling them the problem is their blackness. You see what I'm saying? But now it seems like it's powerful because we're shaming them. But guess what? In order to have shame, you have to have honor. And last time I checked, white folks ain't got them, but they're real low on that department. Okay. And so, but it's the cost to us is so great while it has us feel like we're powerful. So we talked about that in addition to the resistance piece. And then that class, though, along with the book, this curriculum, is we'll start up on Tuesday. Okay. And Tuesday at 8 o'clock. Same platform, same room here, same number, 404-201-2356. And we will do that. And that's also the second and fourth Tuesday. And then Melon Mastery is the second and fourth Thursday. And for those who are in the storytelling class dealing with their family stories, that's on Saturdays. And that class is open. You should have gotten a notice in your email today. We're taking folks who want to join that class, and we're going to extend it because it's been going on 2 sessions, but we're going to go ahead and extend that so we can open it up to everybody. And all of these will be synchronized on the second and fourth Saturday or Tuesday or Thursday, and all of them will be ending about the end of the first or the most second week in December, so that everybody and each one of the class will begin to get ready for different presentations. Okay, hopefully that answers your question, Bob.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
I'd love for you to join us. It's a wonderful, wonderful class. Okay. All right. Any other? There are no other appreciations or no other things you want to tag. Mama Ya, were you about to say something? Did I cut you off earlier?
Well, high praises to you and your wife, and thanks for everything.
Oh, you're welcome, my sister. You're welcome. All right, so now y'all go and tell some folks, okay? Tell them about tonight. Tell them about these cohorts. Tell them there's still time if they hurry to join. And if they're in an area where they don't have other people, we're going to put together those who want to be meeting. They'll be meeting online as an online cohort. And so it's on us. Thank y'all very much, and y'all have a good evening.
Thank you, Papa Wekesa. Have a great evening as well.
All right.